Welcome to TotalRL TV. We're going to be previewing England's opening Four Nations game against Samoa this weekend with Martyn Sadler, the editor of League Express. Martyn, Steve McNamara has named his team early. What do you make of the 17 he's put together?
Well, I think it's a promising squad actually, Aaron. I mean, obviously we all have our own opinions on who we'd like to see in the squad. I personally am a bit disappointed, I suppose, that young Joe Burgess isn't there. I think I'd have probably preferred him to Josh Charnley, but only marginally, and I think we've got a very strong squad. And the real key question for me is whether England's lack of match practice leading up to this game is going to be a real drawback for them against a Samoan team that's going to be coming into the game fairly well prepared.
A big question we've been talking about all week in the office is whether England's NRL experience is going to help or hinder them in the tournament. Might not be as big a problem against Samoa, but looking forward to the Australia and New Zealand games, how do you see the NRL situation?
Well, I'm very glad we're not playing Australia first, and I think the Samoan game is going to be a real tough game, and it's going to be a hell of a test for us. The Samoans are every player in the Samoan squad is with an NRL club, apart from two who are with Super League clubs. Mozi Masoe, of course, is on the bench from St Helens, as is Peter Godinet from Wakefield. So it's going to be a hell of a challenge, and we've got 5 players from the NRL in our team to play the Samoans. The really interesting thing is that I think it's going to be vital for our halfbacks to function. We've got Gareth Widdop and Matty Smith, a brand new combination. Yeah. We don't know how it's going to work. Matty Smith making his debut, surprisingly really, at a fairly late debut, in his late 20s now. Gareth Widdop obviously I thought played very well in the World Cup semi-final last year. I think it's going to be really interesting to see him, now getting the chance to be the key player in that position throughout this tournament. The Samoans have got Ben Roberts, who is with Melbourne Storm, coming to Castleford Tigers next year. And they've got Kyle Stanley, a fairly young player from St George Illawarra Dragons, who I'm not that familiar with. But I think it's going to be really vital for our halfbacks to really get on top of theirs and to direct us around the field. And if they can do that successfully, that'll be the key to victory, I think. Yeah,
just 4 debutants for England, Darrell Clarke and Josh Hodgson, England's new hooking combination. Sure. Quite exciting to see 2 young lads who've impressed in Super League all year come in and make the step up to international level.
And starting with Josh Hodgson, I mean, Darrell Clarke is an impact player, isn't he? And you can certainly see that with, hopefully he's going to come on and make a big impact. I mean, interestingly enough, I would have personally kept George Burgess on the bench as well and started with Chris Hill. Yeah. I think George Burgess is more of an impact player than Chris Hill is, but that's being perhaps being a little bit pedantic. But no, I think we are going to see a real massive battle in the packs. I mean, the Samoans will certainly come at us. I think there's no doubt about that, is there? They're not going to leave anything on the ground. They're not going to leave anything, wondering whether they could have given their all. You look at one or two names: David Folongo, who's ex-Huddersfield Giants, now with Newcastle Knights. Frank Pritchard, the Canterbury Bulldogs, he's obviously a very well-known player. Sam Tagatese, again, a big, strong prop forward from Cronulla. So there's going to be no lack of size in the Samoan team. And I think the first 20 minutes they'll probably try and soften us up a bit. But when you look at our squad. Our pack, we've got George Burgess and James Graham in the front row, Liam Farrell, Joel Tompkins and Joe Westerman in the back row. Certainly, softening up George Burgess and James Graham wouldn't be easy for anybody, would it? Let's face it. I was a bit surprised to see Joel Tompkins selected, I've got to say, because I'm not sure that he's played long enough since coming back from Rugby League to be in this sort of a team. But then again, I've not been at training, so I'm sure that Joel will have been training brilliantly, and that's why he's been selected.
And a little bit of discontent in the Samoa camp as well this week. 3 of their players cut from the squad. Rennie Matua, the big Canterbury forward, one of those. You mentioned the Samoa pack. Without the influence of someone like Matua, surely England too strong for Samoa over the 80 minutes.
Well, I don't know what they were doing at the weekend, but I'm really quite glad that Rennie Matua's not in the side. And if it was Steve McNamara standing around with drinks at the bar for them, and it would have been a very wise move. So, great that they're not there. It should enhance our chances. and England should be able to come away with a win, shouldn't we? You know, despite only 2 weeks since the grand final, no Sean O'Loughlin, of course. That's the thing. A big game for Joe Westerman, and you know it's going to be his chance to shine on the biggest possible stage. We're playing the first game of the afternoon at the Suncorp Stadium. I suspect the crowd will be on Samoa's side. I just can't imagine them shouting for England. So there's going to be quite a bit to think about for the England squad. But I think we should come away with something like a 10-point victory.
Yeah, hopefully an England victory to open the Four Nations this weekend ahead of games against Australia and New Zealand. Of course, in Monday's League Express we'll have all the reaction, all the fallout from that game, including a full match report and interviews with all the England players. We'll be sure to get inside the camp and get the best reaction we can. That's all for this edition of TotalRL TV. Martyn, thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.